1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Hey guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, what's up guys? This is Happy Thanksgiving Day to everybody. Everybody's saying gobble gobble for some reason. I mean, I know that that's what turkeys are supposed to do, right?
Gabba gabba.
Turkeys are so ugly. They're so ugly, they're cute, almost. Kind of like possums or something. Possums are kind of ugly, but they're cute. So it's Thursday, November 28th, 2019. What's up, guys? Live in hour 4 of Jesse Lee Peterson's stream. It's after 9 a.m. Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to get to your calls. Appreciate you guys. And if you're wondering, I was just showing on the video pictures of white kids. I call them kids, white adults, college-educated adults that are in the middle of college, and in some like Minnesota university. And the Jesse Lee Peterson show played clips of these young whites, most of them blonde, repeating, spouting communist trash against America. And this is something that I reported on in Hake News in the first segment of the first hour yesterday. And Jesse Lee Peterson played clips of it today on the show. I forget which hour. If you remember, Joel, let me know. And Asmodor donated a Ninja Guinea. Happy Thanksgiving, James. Thank you, Asmodor. I respect you, appreciate you. And I know that the SPLC, which is an anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-American outlet, trashes you as it has trashed Jesse Lee Peterson. And I think probably the ADL trashes you as it's trashed Christians and whites in America. Very, very malicious people have trashed you. And so I respect you. So I'm going to get to your calls, but real fast, I want to mention something. That was a great segment. I loved Jesse's story about Roger Ailes moving out at 18 with nothing and all, and about men becoming men, and how the beta male fathers are I'm laughing because I remembered something that Jesse said about me. That was like horrific. But beta male fathers just spoiling and being manipulated by their kids and being as bad as the mothers, basically, almost. Or basically, yeah. Sometimes worse, you know. But real fast, if you haven't seen it, make sure to check out Jesse Lee Peterson's, or Jesse Peterson back then, 90s video on blacks addressing the failing education system. Let me put this in that folder if I can find it. I'll put it in the Hake Report folder, Joel. It is up on YouTube, Jesse Lee Peterson's YouTube, and it's up on BitChute, the Jesse Lee Peterson BitChute. BitChute is a nice backup video platform. There it is. Jesse Lee Peterson talking with Elbert Washington and I think it's Clint Simmons. Those guys were running nonprofits dedicated to helping the inner city education system. The people. So check that out. Apologies for the bad audio in the final segment of that thing. And I think that there was supposed to be a 3-parter, but somehow the second part got lost, so it's just first part and third part. But you hardly notice anything's missing. At least, that's the best that we can find. Not everything is complete in these archives, but it's fun to get this old stuff out. Let me get to some callers, though. And then I'm going to tell you about my Thanksgiving family tradition, if I have time. And also a little about my Christian upbringing. On the Jesse Lee Peterson show, he was talking with a guy named Eric from somewhere. in the end of the second hour, beginning of the third hour. And it was so interesting. It was bringing back memories of my upbringing, being taught about the Bible and all that stuff. So it's interesting. It's cool. And so I thought I would share. Some of you guys know a little bit about it. That squeak, there was a beeping last night. We were watching the Jesse Peterson 90s show, and it was like a constant cuss word being bleeped underneath the whole conversation in the last like 15 minutes of the show. Sorry. I tried to do something about it. I didn't know how. I use iMovie. Nick and others know how to use these fancy things like Premiere or something like that. These are video editing platforms. And iMovie is for dummies. And I use iMovie, and then I use Handbrake to make it mono and whatever, crop it and stuff. But anyways, let me get to some callers, and then I'll get to more stuff. The Hake squeal. Okay, Madi, out of California. Madi, how are you?
I'm fine, James. How are you?
Doing fine. Nice to hear from you.
You too. I just want to wish you, Jesse, Joelle, and Nick, and everybody else, and people in the chat rooms a happy Thanksgiving.
Nice. Appreciate that. Happy Thanksgiving to you on behalf of everybody in the chat room who's well-wishing, and all of us.
And also, I want to let you know I became an auntie last night. My sister gave birth to twins.
Ah, Auntie Madi. Congratulations. Twice, Auntie. That's cool. Yeah, one of my cousins had twins. That's cool. Say that again?
I have a daughter of my own.
Oh, right on. Mommy Madi and Auntie Madi. Cool. Right on. That's good. Did you hear that?
I just wanted to, huh?
I was going to say, did you hear that Americans are not having enough babies?
Yeah, I hear you guys every day saying that. They always say more white babies.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
I know. I'm one of the perpetrators of the not having white babies. White guy.
You'll find somebody, James. Don't worry.
Yeah. We'll see.
Well, I just called to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving, and I love you guys, and I'm going to keep supporting y'all.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that, Madi. Take care.
You're welcome. You guys have a blessed day.
All right. You as well. Chris out of Arizona. Let me get to you real quick. Chris, how are you?
Hi, James. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
I love Jesse's show this morning. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Video, great. That caller that said, check the woman's temp, just put your hand on her forehead when she...
Speak up for me, Chris. It's coming in kind of quiet.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'm in a good spot.
That's better.
Okay.
That's better. Much clearer.
All right. And when you said happy Thanksgiving
colonizers?
Colonizers, were you talking about the first Americans, or were you talking about what's happening now with the illegals?
I was talking about the illegals.
I thought it was so funny.
Thank you.
God. So funny.
All you can do is laugh, right?
Right.
And then hope for Trump to whatever. Hope for Trump to do the right thing.
Hope all of us stand behind Trump.
Yeah.
And help him get it done.
Yeah.
You know?
Seriously.
So I wanted to say that the talk that on the Fallen State Jesse did with Bass Rutten.
Yes.
Now, he was the UFC heavyweight champ. He's
Something like that.
Man.
Say that again?
He's a real man. He had a difficult childhood.
Yeah. I haven't watched it yet, but he seemed like a solid guy, and I only heard glowing reviews from those who heard it in person. I did take a picture with him, though.
He's solid. I saw your picture. You tweeted it out. Yeah, I saw that. Awesome.
I was showing my fist.
You really got to... What?
I was showing my punching fist.
Well, you really got to see it because, yeah, he was awesome. And I'm part Danish from my father's side.
Nice. Me too, from my father's side.
So, yeah, Danish, Irish, Scottish.
Okay.
Mom's side Lithuanian, but dad's side Danish. And I have been to Holland, and they are so friendly.
Yeah.
I've been to Germany, not friendly. I went
interesting.
to other satellite countries and visited, and they just were really rude to me, but they were not rude to my husband, and I never understood it. To this day, I don't understand it.
What's your husband? Or what's he like? Or do you know any?
He's nice.
Any clue?
He was in the Army, but he was mixed race. He's half black and half white.
Okay.
I don't know if that has something to do with it, and I'm white as,
Snow?
white. So he would say the greeting in German. We lived in Bavaria. He would say the greeting.
Okay.
And they would, nod and say the same back to him. And if I said it, they would just look at me and turn away. They were downright rude.
That's
Everybody,
interesting.
Except the people in Holland. Holland was amazing. I was like, man, this is where I want to be.
Holland seems like it's too friendly. Isn't Amsterdam like one of the most corrupt places in the world? I don't know.
Nowadays,
Yeah.
Well, there were
That's true.
pot shops even back when I was visiting. There were pot shops.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was I got a tweet from JJ Pesavento about Planned Parenthood and how they had this app, abortion app.
Wow.
Well, I was like, wow, let's see what it is. So I downloaded the app and looked at it. And I punched in that I was 16 years old and this is the last date of my menstrual cycle and blah, blah, blah. This is how long you've been pregnant. You can come in. But because you're underage, these are the qualifications. You have to come in and have a counseling.
Yeah.
And then the next time you come in, you can get the abortion. And only one parent has to consent if you're underage. And the second thing is that if you don't tell your parents about it, you can go to a judge, and the judge can give you permission.
Man, what a mess.
Possibly. Yeah. I'm like, whoa. So if my kids download this app and they feel like they're in trouble, they can just do it on their own, possibly. I bet Planned Parenthood says, okay, go to this judge, and he'll give an okay or whatever. So the thing that I was talking to my sister about the other day is, do you go to a doctor that believes in abortion? Do you want a caregiver to take care of you?
Seriously.
Who believes that you should kill a baby?
Haven't they ever heard of the Hippocratic Oath or something like that? Do no harm.
That's right. Do no harm. Only killing babies. So that is the next thing, is finding a doctor that believes the same thing, because I think it's very important. And I think men should stand up and not allow women to get abortions. Remember that guy
Seriously.
crying on the sidewalk about his wife walking in to get an abort his child? And he just sat there and cried?
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
was
It
a
sounds
mess.
vaguely familiar.
Yeah, it was on one of Jesse's show. I was just saying he wanted his wife to have an abortion, or he would have stopped her.
Interesting.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he gave into it. It kind of reminds me of the rhinos. They just cry and let the Democrats do whatever.
Rhinos are Democrats in sheep's clothing.
Yep. Yeah. I appreciate it, Chris. Wow. You know what? I guess we shouldn't be surprised. They want to make it as convenient and streamlined as possible to kill your baby. So.
Well, this is a good thing, though. Here in Cochise County, there's not a single Planned Parenthood butcher shop. We do have an office, but you can't get an abortion here in Cochise. You actually have to go to Pima. So that's a good thing.
Cochise is not haunted then. So Cochise is not haunted?
Cochise is not, what? Say that again.
It's not haunted.
Haunted?
Yeah, because when there's a lot of killing in places there where there's a lot of killing, either of Indians or of babies, those places become haunted.
Oh, yeah.
I'm halfway joking,
there's
but
some spots. I know there are some spots that are haunted in Cochise, but there is not a baby butcher shop here in Cochise.
That's good. Wow, we need to just expand that to countrywide. Got to get rid of these concentration camps called Planned Parenthood.
I agree.
Appreciate it, Chris. Nice to hear from you, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, James. Bye.
All right. Let me quickly get to William out of San Jose, California, first-time caller. William, thanks for holding. What's up?
Hey, good morning, James. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Thank you.
Hey, I was just calling. I think you were you just talking about the I think the Groypers in quotation marks earlier when you were talking about the white men that were coming up and asking questions in those Q&As.
I have talked about them frequently. Yes, I don't think I touched on them today, but you're welcome to talk about that.
I'm okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
What's your general opinion on Nick Fuentes?
I think he's a good guy. He's funny. He's entertaining, talented, and he's generally right about as far as I can tell, he's not wrong.
Okay.
There's some stuff that I just don't know, like this Israel stuff and all that stuff, because he does talk quite freely, more freely than a lot of people are used to hearing about Jews and stuff.
He's a young kid. Yeah, he's a young kid.
Yeah, and that's a refreshing aspect of him. I like the one thing I like about young kids, and well, he's not even a kid, he's Zoomer, right? About young people and anybody with a spirit of the freedom of speech like Jesse, is they'll talk just freely, and it's kind of almost is innocent, and yet they'll even criticize in taboo things. They'll make jokes that are taboo. They'll criticize in taboo ways. I don't know if he's right or wrong about that stuff, about some of those things, but generally, like, I'm a little leery about the Catholics in general. But he was raised Catholic. He should stay Catholic since he was raised that way. That's fine. And same thing with Vincent James, who's another guy that's on board with what he's about, I think. Who's been on the show?
Yeah, and I know he has an interesting view on free speech. He doesn't believe in absolute free speech, and I can see his point. If you look at the Braille Linda School District, I think that's pretty close to where you guys are at, and they're teaching pedophilia as a sexual orientation, and they're openly admitting this. It's
pretty disgusting. Yeah,
that's kind of what full absolute free expression of free expression and free exchange of ideas and free speech gets you.
Right.
So, I mean, I personally believe there should be some limits. But,
yeah, I'm on board with. You know how I think that Vincent James is a guy who wants pornography regulated, at least, like banned for like kids, because it's it's evil. It's an evil influence. It's contributing to the not making of white babies and all babies.
Oh,
partly,
yeah, and I think we're already seeing the ramifications of it on society.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never even heard of this incel movement until pretty recently.
Right.
And I'm assuming those guys are very familiar with pornography.
Yeah.
Not.
I interviewed an incel. He said that they, at least ideally, they think that it's wrong, but on their website, I showed you guys some links to pornography stuff. So it's crazy. Interesting. Yeah.
And I had one more question. I know you know how a lot of people on the far right push this ideology of an ethno-state.
Right.
What's your opinion on that? And when I say ethno-state, I don't mean country by country. I mean like within the country, within the federated state. Kind of like I'm half Ethiopian, and if you look at what's going on in Ethiopia right now, they've instituted ethnic federalism, which is federated states based on ethnic lines that are divided as far apart as possible, so these different ethnic groups can remain autonomous and preserve their own sovereignty. And I know in a place like Ethiopia, where it's not as diverse as it is here in America, there's a lot of problems. But for me, I see with such diverse groups with such opposing viewpoints in this country, for me personally, I think that could be something that eventually could be instituted in the United States.
I don't know if it will. I don't know what the future holds, and I think that it should be. I think that people should have the freedom to separate, or you come together as they please. But I do am not for all this. Diversity is seen as a value. It's not a value.
Yeah, definitely not. But
I'm okay with, I have there's this ethno-nationalist guy who asked me about it, and I said, yeah, why not? But there's a trap of falling into focusing on your physical identity, which is not your real identity. And sometimes that can be a distraction from right versus wrong. That's the only hang up, in my opinion.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I think the central focus of it, my dad and I talk about this. My dad and I talk about this all the time.
Is your dad white or Ethiopian?
He's Ethiopian. He came here he grew up in a slum village in Tigray. His parents died when he was 6, and he was a refugee from Sudan.
So he's not for ethno-state?
He is. He is for ethno-state.
Okay.
He is for ethnic federalism. But we talk about it, and the focus is, it's kind of like the old adage of, cleaning up your own house or working on what's going on in the interior of your own house before you go and join up with everybody else, in the outside. It's kind of that,
interesting.
kind of sheltering these communities so they can focus on the problems at hand, the actual problems at hand in these specific communities. And once they get a grasp of that, then they can reintegrate back into the diverse society.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, William. Nice to hear from you, man.
Thank you, James.
Make sure you come down for church sometime if you get a weekend off or something.
Oh, most definitely.
All right.
I'm up in North California, so it's
I know.
hard for me, but whenever I get a chance, I'd love to.
All right. Take care, William.
All right. You too, James.
All right. So I'm gonna. Oh, you know what? Let me get to Daryl out of New York City. He's been waiting a while, and first time caller. Daryl, thanks for holding, man. What's up?
What's up, Hake?
Hey.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Same to you.
You know your boy Trump's about to be impeached, right?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
He's going to be impeached just like he tried to pardon that turkey. He's going to pardon him.
Interesting, man. Yeah, it's who knows. It's seemingly becoming less and less popular now. Even though the women are falling for it, the men are not.
Uh-huh.
And so it seems like it's kind of up in the air, actually.
Yeah.
And the impeachment is kind of a meaningless thing because it's all politics. Yeah. And they're not going to remove him.
I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to you. Hey, that was all.
I appreciate that, Daryl. Is it moral or immoral to celebrate Thanksgiving?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Oh, man, come on.
Is it moral or immoral to celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer for that.
All right. I appreciate the honest answer.
Native American.
Say that again?
I can't answer that. I would have to ask a Native American. I wouldn't know the answer.
You sound just like Huffington Post.
He's black.
All right, Daryl. Take care, man.
All right.
Appreciate that. All right.
All right.
I read as the show was coming on, I got this push notification. He was joking, right? From Huffington Post that said, we asked indigenous people, by that they mean Indians, right? American Indians. Not the dot, but the feather. Oh, playing around. What everyone should know about Thanksgiving. Here are 6 things that they said you should do. And I'm not going to bother clicking into it. It's dumb. By the way, this is my first time wearing this shirt in a while. And I saw Malkuth X Nick from, I think, Chicago or St. Louis, said, the skinny pants are for betas, but James Hake says skinny shirts are for alphas, because I guess this shirt's kind of skinny. But I haven't worn this in a while. This may have been even years. It's Domo. Domo is a character. For those of you listening and not watching the show, I'm wearing this 9x9 square. It's a square on my shirt with these rectangular monster characters with their mouths open and their teeth showing and red mouth inside and dots for eyes, and then different styles of. Can you zoom in on it, Joel? Different styles of what are these called? Mustaches? I guess because it's Movember, right? Makes sense. Movember is when guys grow out their mustaches to honor prostate cancer or something dumb. But here, let me get out of. See, this is Domo. So they have different styles of, what are these called? Mustaches again? And I don't know what the point is, but I used to go to this website run by this Christian guy named Conrad. He was in a Christian punk rock band that I liked, so I found his website when the internet was new to me after high school. And so, like, he had Domo as characters sometimes on his site in pictures. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so I bought this shirt at Goodwill one time because I used to go shopping at Goodwill sometimes. And but one year recently, within the past 2 to 3 years, or maybe even 4 years, maybe it was recent, Jesse Lee Peterson asked me, "How old are you?" I'm like 36 or something like that. And you're wearing that shirt at that age, basically something along those lines, right? Making me just feel ashamed for wearing a childish shirt as a grown man. It might have been, do you remember? I don't know if Joel remembers this. It might have been when Andre was the producer, and Andre was like, "You're never going to get married." Nick is saying you should have screamed Domo-kun or something like that. I don't know how. I don't even know who Domo is. I think that it's a Japanese cartoon character or something like that. But I just thought it was a cool shirt, and it used to be my size, I guess. I have to pull on my sleeves. Anyway, you can zoom back out. Thanks. Sorry, guys. I'm going to tell you about my Thanksgiving tradition, but first let me get to some more callers. I'm just thinking about the dumb communist, speaking of dumb, right? Dumb communist kids, white kids brainwashed into anti-white so-called history, which is basically communist Howard Zinn type of propaganda that was exposed by College Fix, which is nothing new, right? But it's so ridiculous. Anyways, Tony out of Florida, how are you doing?
Pretty good, James. How about yourself?
Doing fine, thank you.
Listen, I want to touch upon prison reform that you were speaking about yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not for prison reform. I mean, I'm for it if men are involved, like conservatives are involved. I'm not for it if Jared Kushner, who's kind of liberal, and I'm not for it if the blacks, the stupid black politicians are being kissed up to. I'm for what's right.
Well, sadly,
so if it's right, I want it, but I don't trust it.
Almost all Democrats were in support of this.
Yeah.
And almost the majority of Republicans were as well, including Senator Lee, Ted Cruz, Turning Point USA, and all those conservative people, including President Trump.
I know. Trump, don't do this.
That's not a law and order thing. A law and order president would never set free 200-plus sex offenders already convicted.
Are you the guy that I was arguing with on Instagram?
I mean, it wasn't an argument.
Yeah,
I
know. But yeah,
I would just. I think it's very untrue to go around and label him a law and order president. If I told you, "Hey, James, this judge just set free a murderer to go kill again," would you consider that judge law and order? I don't think so.
But that's kind of Trump. I have to believe that Trump didn't know this.
Well, that's not true. I can prove that because I can show you a video of Ted Cruz and Senator Tom Cotton reading off reasons of why it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. Senator Tom Cotton was even on video in a Tucker Carlson interview saying how President Obama and his administration deemed these prisoners to be too dangerous to set free.
And yet
everybody was informed about what was going to happen.
So you're saying Cruz was against it and Tom Cotton was against it?
Tom Cotton was against it. Ted Cruz was against it for a long time, and then he bent the knee towards the end, and he actually eventually signed off on it.
Yeah.
But I could show you video of Kansas Owens, Rob Smith, the so-called Amazing Lucas.
I'm not surprised by.
Yeah, they're sitting down with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is reading off a list of violent offenders, drive-by shootings, kidnappings, armed robberies, a list of endless offenders that were eligible to be free by the law.
Yeah.
And they totally blew it off. Like, we don't care. We want it done anyway.
It's
And that's
a
what
shame.
happened.
Donald Trump should not be kissing up to these people. But
No, he should not.
But the reason that I say he's a law and order guy, or I put out Bill O'Reilly's statement that he's a law and order guy in the book, was because that is a big part of the reason about the illegal immigration thing, why he's so against that. It's a big part of the reason why he's against this attack on police, this Black Lives Matter type attack on police. I love that he gives no play to Black Lives Matter, but you're right, he's so wrong about this.
Did you see that Instagram post that I tagged you in about the UFC's fighter whose granddaughter or daughter was murdered?
I saw it. I haven't looked into it. I haven't actually read it yet, but I did see that you sent me something, and I saw the picture of the black girl that was killed.
Just to give you a quick breakdown of what happened, he was a UFC heavyweight. His daughter was kidnapped and murdered, and the person who committed this act was already out on bond from a previous attempted murder, kidnapping, and robbery charge. He was a career criminal since 2011. And this man was roaming the streets free with that violent record and already being charged with so many violent crimes. He was let off on bond, only to kill again 6 months later. And these are the type of policies that are pushed by Van Jones and these so-called fake conservative groups like Turning Point USA.
You said Van Jones, the former communist?
Well, Van Jones is behind these ideas of no bond, no bail, let them out early. Yep. These are all these progressives that are pushing this, funded by George Soros.
Yeah.
So there's endless amounts of this. Do you know that case Rodney Reed that everybody's been talking about recently in the national news?
It vaguely rings a bell. What is it?
He was the guy on death row in Texas, and then Kim Kardashian and all the celebrities are making a big push.
Okay.
Oh, he's not guilty. He's not guilty. If you read through his casework, there's about 6 other rape and murder cases that he has his DNA tied to. So these people are going around trying to set free rapists and murderers off technicalities.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And Trump's siding with these people.
Yeah. No, man, he's wrong about it. There was a lot of stuff that was wrong that, and actually very destructive that Ronald Reagan did. And some of the older people really admire Ronald Reagan. I always respected him. I grew up respecting him because I was a kid, and he looked like my dad, my grandpa. But he was also like, I knew that my dad respected him, and I knew that he was supposed to be like a good example. But he did a lot of wrong things too, and it just makes me wonder, like, these guys, was he really a good president? And it just makes me wonder about it, Like, King David did horrible things that caused a whole lot of damage to the nation of Israel. And so, yeah, it's a mess. And somebody needs to get a hold of Trump somebody needs his ear, because he does listen.
That's the problem with people like Jared Kushner and Van Jones that have his ear, which is...
I wasn't aware that somebody like Van Jones would have his ear, but I know that Van Jones was kissed up to by that guy Newt Gingrich, whom I sometimes respect, but generally I think that he's a kiss up, and I've seen him kiss up to Van Jones, who's evil, and it's so ridiculous.
James, if I could just say one more quick point
about
the First Step Act. There was a prisoner who was set free by the First Step Act. His name was Julio Francisco. He was an ex-gang leader of the Latin Kings. One of his first original charges was aggravated assault with a firearm, and that charge was dropped down. Eventually, he was put away for 3 crack convictions, but he was a well-known violent gang leader in the community. When the First Step Act passed, he immediately applied to have his sentence retroactively set back because he had an original life sentence, and then it got knocked down to 14 years. Then he was set free. A couple of weeks later, he tried to break into his ex-girlfriend's home, was arrested again. 6 months later, he commits murder, and he was finally caught again and arrested, or he's back in jail where he belongs. All of that happened because President Trump signed the bill. Love Trump or hate him.
Yeah.
You have to call them out on the BS, because
For sure.
whenever an illegal alien kills an American citizen, all the conservatives jump up in arms and say, hey, the guy never should have been here.
Yeah.
This could have been preventable. Well, the murder of Troy Pine, that could have been preventable, because that guy, Julio Francisco, should have never left the cage where he belongs.
Yeah. Was that what Tucker Carlson reported on several weeks back?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember seeing that. And this sheriff or somebody called out Kushner specifically as being pushing this.
He really railed into Jared Kushner.
Yeah.
And now Jared Kushner is assigned to build a wall.
I know. That's like I said. That's the fox guarding the hen house. We need Stephen Miller to be overseeing him. And I understand it, because Kushner, I guess, has been involved in making sure that buildings go up and on time and stuff like that. So in that sense, okay, maybe he has the skills, but he's too soft. He's a liberal.
Yeah. And James, I wanted to point something else out. I noticed that a lot of conservatives that I criticize about this, they immediately assume that I'm anti-Trump.
No, yeah, I didn't assume it. I wanted to make sure that you were still going to vote for Trump, because some people get emotional about attacking or criticizing Trump, and they're right about the criticisms, but then they're not right when they're like, I'm gonna have very low, basically like they're down about it. I don't want you guys to be down about it.
I understand. I've been blocked by all these so-called black conservatives that push this prison reform nonsense.
Yeah.
I'll call into their show. I'll write a little post, and they'll say, "Oh, it's only one example of many, but many are doing well," as if Troy Pine is some commodity in their science experiment that's expendable.
Yeah.
It's so mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
But,
No, it's you can't excuse when he does wrong. You have to be consistent. I appreciate that, Tony, man. Thank you. I'm glad you called in.
You're doing, James, and thanks to Jesse and all those guys at Bond. You guys are doing amazing work.
Right on, man. Take care.
Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
All right. Skip out of Augusta, Georgia. Skip, how are you?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing fine.
Well, look at here. Do you remember a while back you called Kelly Joe a snake?
Kelly Joe. I remember Kelly Joe, is she the one that called in and said a vulgar way of I'm kissing butt to Jesse?
Well, in a kind of roundabout way she did.
Yeah, she said something vulgar. I'm like, you shouldn't be doing that. That's vulgar. But she was mad. She was saying that it was ridiculous, something that Jesse said. And I said, that's not ridiculous. And so we argued. She wished me a happy Thanksgiving, though, and I wished it back.
Yeah, well, even though she was pretty much right when she told you that.
Whatever.
I'm down here at her house.
Right on.
I drove 4 hours this morning to spend Thanksgiving with her and her family.
Nice. That's cool.
That's a nice thing. And if it wasn't for you and Jesse and y'all's platform, I never would have met Kelly Jo and her wonderful family.
Nice.
And been able to come down here and enjoy this stuff like I'm doing.
Yeah. So, are you guys going to have chitlins?
No, we're going to have snake.
Nice. I heard snake tastes just like, I heard that rattlesnake tastes just like chicken.
It does. And every bite I take and every bite Kelly Jo takes, we think about you.
Right on. That's cool. I appreciate that.
Now, look, I just wanted to call you and wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Right on.
Thank y'all for all you do. And did you know that, man? Hold on a minute. Say hey, Kelly Jo.
Hey, Kelly Jo.
Hey, James.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Appreciate you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, James. You're awesome.
Nice. Appreciate it.
Even though you do call us a snake in the grass.
Yeah.
But we wanted to call you and tell you we do love y'all guys. We appreciate y'all.
Thanks, man.
And I'm sorry we don't have your black news to share with y'all today.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the blacks called in and just wished Jesse a happy Thanksgiving. That's nice.
That was pretty nice, wasn't
Russell from Virginia. Somebody else. T from Alabama. That was nice.
No, he didn't. Not T from Alabama.
Yep, he did.
Has Earl wished you one yet?
No, but I'm sure he does in his heart.
Well, Earl's probably at the convenience store right now, down the corner getting coffee right now. So,
I don't think Earl drinks.
well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But look at, we love you, James. And
All
we
right,
wish
Skip.
all a happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right.
All right.
Talk to y'all later.
Take care, Skip.
All right, bye.
Bye. Tax Cattle says Hake equals snake. And that was one of my nicknames in high school. I was James the Snake Hake. And that was because I was a wrestler. And I was a wrestler in freshman year of high school. Because, you know, I wanted to do something different. My PE teacher was the wrestling coach. And I did it. It was so fun. I liked that fighting type stuff. So, but I didn't really stick with it. My whole family are like runners, distance runners, that is. And so I stuck with the running. I didn't stick with wrestling, but I did like it. It was very good workouts. So, real fast, by the way, Blessed and Praying says, it seems as Trump trusts Kushner too much. And it's reported Kushner was paid by Qatar along with Ilhan Omar. Interesting. You need to stop copying Jesse's voice. I know. It's like it comes out natural, unnatural. I'm not trying to. Sometimes I do. Like, sometimes Jesse says, such and such from North Carolina. But it's, you know, whatever. I'll come into my own, I'm sure, eventually. When I'm a late bloomer, right? Like when I'm 45, 48, something like that. Anyways, so my Thanksgiving family tradition, and then I'll die. when I'm 80, I don't know. Hopefully I don't die, but I'm not living right. I'm not living in such a way as to not die yet. Not a good thing. Just working with the scraps you was given. This is a rap song. And Mama made miracles every Thanksgiving. That's from Tupac. I remember I used to, in freshman year of high school, going into freshman year, I got a little radio thing, a pocket radio thing. It was about this big. It looked like about the size of an iPod, a little smaller. And it had a FM, AM, I think it was FM anyways, but AM, FM radio. And you plugged in the things, and it had those earphones that you plugged into your ears rather than these things. And so I would like listen to Power 106 when I was going to sleep. Power 106 is like a rap station. It used to be a rap anyways. I don't know what it is now. Supposedly it's still rap. Over here in Los Angeles area. And so on Mother's Day, I heard that song for the first time. It's called Crap. I know, Jesse calls it rap crap. Like, that's the one thing I don't really necessarily agree with him about. Although I do see, like, the negative aspects of it. It's like, F the police and stupid stuff like that. But anyways, like, this guy rapping all tough sounding with his deep voice, talking about Dear Mama. And I thought it was so nice. But then later, like, I think about it, I'm like, man, Tupac was a mama's boy. That was his problem, or part of his problem. And then he hated his father. He's like, I ain't got no love for him, and I ain't guilty because the coward wasn't there. Something like that. People say I'm wrong and I'm heartless, but something, I needed a father who was God, and the coward wasn't there. So, isn't that the same old tired line? So, unfortunate. She was a Black Panther? I know that she kind of was, huh? Anyways, so for Thanksgiving, as a kid growing up, we would always go to my grandmother's house on my mother's side, right? And it's interesting. My mother, whom I call mom, right? I call them mom and dad. But she called her parents mother and daddy. So she would say, hi, mother. Hi, daddy. Isn't that interesting? Like, she would be the formal word with her mother and the daddy word with her dad. That was my grandma and grandpa on my mother's side. Both of my grandpas have since died, But both of my grandmothers are still kicking. May not be kicking hard, but they're still kicking. That's cool. The men die first. As Jesse Lee Peterson says, the wives kill their husbands. And they don't kill them necessarily, but it just like the nagging or whatever it is, and the fathers don't know how to deal with it, or the husbands, they end up dying first or something. And even though you was a crack fiend mama, you always was a black queen mama. That's what Tupac said about his mother. And I remember we played this song. I played it with my Asian friend, really liked rap too. And we played it for this older white friend of his. We were on a road trip, and he heard that line, and he's like, oh my gosh, society is basically blanked. Basically like in the tubes, gone. Society. He said that about society. And this was like, I don't know, 20, at least 15, maybe 20 years after that song came out, which that song came out, what, 95? Something like that? 94 maybe? 96? I don't know. So went to my grandmother's house, and all the cousins and aunts and uncles and parents and siblings, and eventually like nieces and nephews, because my oldest brother started having kids, and then my I guess my sister, and then some of my cousins started having kids, and then all of my cousins have kids now, at least on my mother's side. And it's just so interesting doing all that thing. We would go to my grandmother's house practically like every Sunday to go swimming in the pool, drink soda because we weren't allowed to drink soda during the week, watch TV. We weren't allowed to watch TV during the week. Play video games. Like we kept the Atari there, and then later on we kept the Nintendo there. We got a Nintendo like late in life after everybody else had N64, Super Nintendo, and all that stuff. GameCube and all those things. We barely got regular Nintendo, and then come like college, we finally got a PlayStation and kept it at my grandmother's house. The cousins would sometimes play it. Shoot hoops in the basketball on the garage where my grandmother was. Garage had a basketball hoop. Just fun stuff. And but then now that they're older, we have it more like at my mother's house, my parents' house, I should say, my father and mother's house, or at my aunt and uncle's house or something. So now we're doing that thing. So I'm probably gonna see my family later today. That's cool. Yeah, they're in their mid-90s, still kicking. The grandmothers. They're kind of like, you know who's 90 is Clint Eastwood, I heard. I guess those older generations, some of them lived through the Great Depression, and so they learned to live moderation in everything and save and all that stuff. Pretty, what is it called when you're not spending a bunch of money all the time? That's how they lived. Good lives. And then my parents kind of lived. Yeah, frugal. Thank you, Nick. Wow. It's good for something. That's cool. And then I had a pretty Christian upbringing, too. It was so interesting from hearing some of these callers talk about how their mother read the Bible to them all the time. So, like, my oldest brother, the neighbor kids wanted him to join a gang. I think I might have told this story before. And then so my mother said, oh, you know what? They wanted him to join a gang or a club. And so my mother started Jesus Club. So every Friday, about 3 p.m., all the neighborhood kids and school friends, not all, but many, and us kids and some of the cousins would come over to my mother's house. My parents' house. My mother would play piano. We would sing Christian songs. And then she would tell some story, throw out candy with question and answer type stuff. And then we would go outside before and after playing different things like soccer. We didn't play a whole lot of soccer, but played different things. Hide and seek, tag, sometimes basketball, football, whatever. It was fun. But, yeah, my mother, I remember it being before kindergarten, we were learning to read. We learned to read before kindergarten and maybe even before preschool. I don't know if I was 3 or 4 when my mother started teaching me to read, but it was started out like reading these Christian arch books and also reading these 3x5 cards, Bible verses, memorizing Bible verses. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Or pray without ceasing. Or there were some harder ones that I don't remember anymore. If you jog my memory, I can remember them. Or Jesus wept. No, I'm kidding. I didn't learn that one. But that's the shortest one I heard. I remember it stuck with me. Like even I grew up as like an adolescent, and I was like, oh, maybe I should start reading the Bible. So I started reading the Bible eventually. Starting like in high school and stuff like that, college especially, I got really into it. And I remember it got so, let's call it interesting, that I was still running, right? I was going to college just so I could run, in my mind anyways. And I got injured from running, like I was overzealous, so I got injured. Stupid, right? And so I would go swimming. So I would drive over to Azusa Pacific University, park, and then walk over to the next door neighboring community college, Citrus College, which you just pay $10 and then you have free access to their stuff, at least at that time. And so I got a Citrus college card, community college, meaning public school, where you can't even get a BA there. A bachelor's, you get an associate's degree. And I would go into their Olympic-sized swimming pool or whatever it was, and we'd swim widthwise. And I'd swim laps, and I'd be swimming laps remembering Bible verses, because I created my own Bible verse memorizing things. And so I would go over a bunch of these Bible verses in my mind as I was swimming laps. That's how crazy it was. And I think I've told you guys before that when I went to public school for the most part, but in 3rd grade and in 6th grade, I was homeschooled. Why? Because in 3rd grade, it was at a point where my older brother, middle child, was in 6th grade, and my dad felt like he wasn't seeing enough of us. He saw my older siblings because he was teaching at the high school, and they were in high school, but he didn't see enough of us, so he decided to keep us home, and he taught us math and different things, and my mother taught us stuff. So I was homeschooled just randomly in 3rd grade, and he made us get up and go for runs and stuff early in the morning. Oh my gosh, it was a pain. I didn't like it, but I eventually caught the running bug, which I don't have anymore right now. It's so lazy. It's bad. But and in 6th grade, I was homeschooled again because I don't think that they liked any of the teachers necessarily. And so come 7th grade and 8th grade, I wasn't ready. I felt like I wasn't ready socially to hit the 7th and 8th grade with all the bad kids who were coming from all these other schools into this Gidley school where I went. And so it was like a culture shock. And that was when I realized that the social order in that area, amongst the kids, it was like Mexicans on the top. There were virtually no blacks, but blacks were up there too. Asians, and then whites at the bottom. The white kids, it seemed like at the bottom socially. And I don't know if that was just in my imagination or what, but that's how it felt. And so it was an interesting upbringing. I was not ready for that. It was traumatizing almost. And that was kind of an example of the parents not having the children be tough and outgoing and stuff like that. But I remember in college, I was still more comfortable going to my mother for advice. Isn't that crazy? But it's so common, I think. And only later, I remember my older brother, I would see him going to my dad for advice. And I was like, that's interesting. That's a good idea. That's better. And I respected him for it, but I still wouldn't do it. It was weird. Like, I was more comfortable around my mother. I remember as a kid, before people didn't think I knew how to talk, I would whisper to my mother because I didn't want them to hear, I don't know, whatever I wanted or whatever I had to say. Nick is saying lipo. Because I'm out of shape, he thinks I should get liposuction. Oh, never mind. Anyways, so it was, the kids identifying with the mothers being mama's boys. I didn't think of myself as a mama's boy, but it was crazy. So later on, I eventually started going to my father. But it was interesting. Oh, speaking of tongues, a lot of Christians talk about speaking in tongues and stuff like that. And I remember I've told about this a little bit. I remember being taught by a friend of the family to speak in tongues, along with a whole bunch of other kids at Jesus Club one Friday. And I was like, gudda, because I just made up a word and just kept on repeating it. And the word good, right? Gudda. That was my tongues. And so I didn't really ever take it seriously. It wasn't really forced. That part wasn't really forced on us, but some of the family members really do still like believe in it, and they think that it's praying in the spirit. And I don't know, maybe, but I don't think so. But I've brought some family members and friends, both Christian, non-Christian, liberal, non-political, and conservative, to church with Jesse Lee Peterson back when it was Sunday service, Bond Sunday service. Because I started coming to Bond's church in 2007, and I remember one of them was actually like praying in the spirit, meaning praying so-called in tongues under his breath, just kind of quietly, not disrupting, but yeah, I could kind of hear him or her. And it was just interesting. And I remember arguing with like one sibling or somebody about the whole Jesus is God thing, which it was never pushed on us that Jesus is God and you have to believe that. It was just Jesus is the Son of God, Savior, all that stuff. The stuff that's in the Bible, the stuff that's quite clear in the Bible, right? But he got mad because he or she, right? Or because one time Jesse, or, every now and then Jesse will say, is Jesus the Son of God or is he God? He's the Son of God. But, like, I don't even see what the big deal is, but people act like it's a big deal and you're a heretic if you don't believe that Jesus is God. And it's like, what? That's not even really a focus. Even in the Bible, it's not a focus. So they act like you're denying Christ if you say he's the Son of God and not God himself. And to me, I don't see it as, like, what's so important about it? But I do understand Jesse makes a good point, that you'll suffer if you believe that he's God, because then you're believing something that's not true, and you should only believe something that's true. So he makes a very interesting point about that. That is a good point. Let me get to some callers real fast. We're at the top of the hour, and then close out the show. Appreciate you guys listening to that. Steven out of Raleigh, North Carolina. How are you, Steven?
Hey, doing good, James. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Thank you. Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to call to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving in the chat, and a shout out to Team Marcus.
Team Marcus?
Marcus Jones. Yeah.
Marcus Jones.
Yeah,
a faithful watcher and commenter and criticizer. Sometimes he has good criticisms, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right on, Steven. Appreciate that.
That's all I wanted to do.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, man.
Yeah, take care.
You as well.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. We will be back for tomorrow, which is considered Black Friday. Why it gotta be black? But in this case, Black Friday is a good thing because that means you're in the black. For once, black has positive connotations. Be happy, right? So nice. Rally. Is it rally or Raleigh? Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, and keep at it. And take Jesse's advice. He had a really good, I think it was the first segment of the third hour, and that was a really nice conversation. Go back and listen to it if you missed it, because I know that some of you guys in the chat are so busy chatting that you miss the show, because it happens to me when I get sucked into the chat. All right, guys, take care. It's thehakereport.com for my stuff. I am on podcasts. Some of you guys don't know that. And it's jlptalk.com for the Jesse Lee Peterson show and all that stuff. All right, guys. Oh, rebuildingtheman.com. You can see the updates on the bond building fund. I still got to give them the super chat totals. There's some more super chats to add to the bond building fund. Appreciate you guys' super chats towards that. All right, guys. Take care.